Good evening, my friends, and welcome to the magic and the mystery of the star tetrahedron. Over the last couple of sessions we talked about how it is Aladdin's lamp, that Aladdin simply rubbed his lamp and the magic genie came forth. Well, this is the star tetrahedron, as the counter-rotating vortices of the star tetrahedron move, light and consciousness, creating a wave form of energy around you in their movement. It then opens the magic doorway within the very center back into the void where the magic genie of spirit or source arises forth. And just as Aladdin made the three wishes, the way that we wish when we have opened the doorway is that we simply decide to see, because this is the projector. And as we decide to see what we would like to feel, then spirit arising forth from out of the open doorway simply begins to coalesce into that seeing, feeling image that we hold unwavering. And so this is the way that great masters like Jesus, for instance, who mastered the star tetrahedron, the Christ wave form, not a person, but a field of consciousness. He was literally opened the door and he said, "It is the Father within me that does the work," source arising forth. And as spirit came forth, he simply saw and felt the healing, the loaves and fishes, water into wine. He was then the master of that which emanates from the void, the magic genie. A little bit of mix up tonight because I didn't have sound. I had to resend the link. So I hope that wasn't too challenging, that everyone is here online, hopefully. I wanted to go through a little bit of history of the evolution of consciousness. As you well know, we work with the void, which is where spirit resides, in this place of complete silence within us as we open the doorway. But in the beginning of creation, there was only that silence, the great dark void where spirit existed in all its potentiality. And then that which is spirit, we would call it a positive energy. It asked the question, what am I? And that moment it created a reflection. What am I? And as it looked there, it saw, well, I am. It's simply my reflection, I am. This is my positive and this is my negative, but I am. So that's really the greatest statement in all creation, I am. So whenever you say I am, you are speaking the truth from that which you are in your origination. We are all from that original question, I am, source, spirit. And so God's source already exists within you. But as evolution began to proceed and denser layers of consciousness were created, finally moving now into the three-dimensional world, which is the densest layer within the form, which is really the mineral kingdom. And it was then the question of the great source beings that we are, that God's source is, that asked the question, can I now learn how to get inside of the form that I am have manifested? And can I begin to develop it into a conscious system that has thought, ideas, and feelings, just like the great being I am, which is infinite thought. And so Homo sapiens finally evolved. And as we began to evolve, then right brain, left brain, once again, positive and negative. And so this is then when we symbolically ate of the apple of knowledge. We now had both the right brain, which is the feeling, sensitive, we call it negative feminine quality, and then the positive right brain, which is masculine focus, or left brain focus, attention, and doing. But we were now separate, no longer living in unity, but now in duality. We've ate of the apple of knowledge and were symbolically kicked out of Eden. And over time, you see, we've been working with these polar opposites. Some civilizations have been totally feminine, based upon the mother principle and the feeling, love, heart. And then they were symbolically put to sleep, destroyed, if you will, destructured. And then masculine civilizations took over. And so we are now at the height of the masculine civilization of mind, of thinking, and of creating through doing, through using our power to go out and do, to make, to perform. But now it's also the time when we reach 2012 in the evolution of Earth and consciousness, the great I am, that the great I am now wants to wake up inside of this vessel, this vehicle that it has created. But it is you that is source, that is now wanting to wake up inside the vessel that you have created, that you have evolved over eternity. But we have become so asleep in the denseness of materiality that so many people still think they're just the form, the physical body. And so they still keep looking outside of themselves for something to fulfill them. Money, power, recognition, even love, still looking for something outside. But we know in our work, when we begin to quiet the mind, the masculine thinking principle of simply doing, and begin to refine it to be the true masculine principle now in the new age, which is simply held and focused attention, light, pure light, the light of seeing, just like the projector at a movie. And as the light is held, it then shines upon the feminine heart of feeling, of creativity, of imagination. And so this is then the beginning of focusing the mind upon the feminine heart, which begins to create a union of left brain, right brain synchronicity. As that begins to happen, most of us has then began to step upon the path of spiritual discovery. And so with the mind and with the heart, we begin to read, we begin to look, we begin to quest, asking, who am I? What is source? What is God? What is reality? But then over time, after all of that questing and searching, and finally, we've learned to love ourselves. We're no longer looking for love. We're no longer looking for source. We begin to realize that I am now the infinite. And now I need to awaken. This is when we become, again, initiated into the great mystery and magic of the star tetrahedron work. It's a very unique type of meditation. It's the meditation that was taught in the mystery schools that Jesus and the other initiates were schooled within, the great Essene schools, as were the great schools within Egypt and many others down through history. And so the great initiates who learned to master the star tetrahedron and began to weave masculine and feminine, power and love back together, they begin to actually create this wave form of energy around them, the star tetrahedron. This, of course, is the image that we always show of the star tetrahedron. Masculine power above, feminine love beneath, and two triangulations coming together. This is also an image that I recently came across. It's not quite as precise, but still it's a very beautiful image. And as the star tetrahedron begins to turn, you see very, very rapidly, it turns left, right, up, down, in, out, all around. It begins to weave around it literally a sphere. It circumscribes and creates a sphere. And we within the center of that sphere are then able to open the sacred doorway then back into the realms of Source Spirit. And as that happens, you see, then we realize that Source, that which we have always been, is now within us. And as we now can allow our consciousness to settle back down in and through inside of self, through the open doorway, we once again rest in pure silence within the great void of the I am that you have always been, that you always will be. At the same time, though, knowing you are now manifest and living within a three-dimensional world of form, where you can then summon that which you are. You are summoning yourself, Source. And it is you in the consciousness fields of creation that with the great I am now, power and love unified, you can simply see and feel and create. And thus, Source begins another great magic journey of creation within the fields of physicality as a fully realized God being, living realized, enlightened, and awake within form for the first time in all creation. This is the great experiment that is taking place on planet Earth. And it is why all the great beings of light, why we see so many alien ships and so many beings of light that come to the earth, because this is the greatest library, one of them that has been created, of all the consciousness, of all the DNA, of all the possibilities of existence now manifest within form. And we, the great souls who have been weaving our way down through time, space, and evolution, the souls that are illuminated and alive, all these wonderful beings on earth, it is now the time of the apocalypse. Apocalypse meaning the revealing, the unveiling, the moving away of all that is ignorance, that no longer really is the light and the truth of the one source, and we now reveal ourselves. And so this is what's happening on earth today. Earth herself is a great awakened, beautiful being of light, and as she now moves in her next evolutionary trajectory, she is calling all of us that are now willing to move into the next wave of evolution to evolve with her and to then create through Earth an even greater possibility of creation. And so we see that that which is not moving forward is being destructured and broken down. We call it a pandemic. We call it Black Lives Matter. We have great respect for all of these new racial and social upheavals taking place because they're breaking down the old. And we who are then bringing in the new light and source from within, we create a vibrational frequency that now emanates from us. The magic genie of source, God I am emanating, begins to create a wave form that surrounds the globe. And with effortless ease, the consciousness of humanity begins to change. Not because we are forcing it, not because we are trying, not because we are wanting, but simply because the waveform of truth and light, like the sun, it now rises upon an earth that has been dark and asleep. And when the sun rises, we awake. It's that simple and that beautiful. I've also heard from some of you that a little bit of challenge with the star tetrahedron, which I agree. It's, again, quite a challenging opportunity because we're not using our thinking to make it happen. Many of our processes have been in the past. Let me read and think and gather. Let me read and think and in my meditation do. And let me now think about how I'm moving light through my body. But in this meditation, we then bring the mind back into complete silence. And as the mind is silent, we then simply see. We're not seeing with these eyes. We know that we begin to hold our attention between the eyebrows. We begin to awaken the true light. Esoterically, it is called the inner light. And as the inner light within the area of the pineal gland awakens, it is the one light of source. Simple, pure, true, silent. We simply then decide to see, and what we see becomes real. And so we simply sit quietly and close the eyes. And as we begin to ignite the light in the head, we then simply see the star tetrahedron turning. We're not trying, we're not efforting, we're simply seeing and feeling the star tetrahedron turning, front, back, all around. And in that seeing, it takes time, but over time we actually begin to build a light wave form that every day, because the attention in the seeing becomes more precise, we then are able to see and feel it ever more dynamically, powerfully, and clearly. I've been doing this now for probably 5 years with great dedication, and it's become a very real experience, a very dynamic thing. And I can simply hold my mind steady because I've meditated for 45 years now, the mind completely silent. I close my eyes. I see the movement of the star. I see the doorway open. As I look into the void, I see what I would create, and as it arises forth, Aladdin's genie, I simply hold attention, see and feel what I would create, and it begins to arise forth in my reality around me. And so I begin to be somewhat adept at this work. But it is only the most adept, the most practiced, that can truly evolve into the Christ wave, because it's a point of evolution, the greatest point of evolution possible. To become a god, a goddess, to awaken the great I am within you, to know that I am source. I have summoned source, that which I am, into a dimensional world. And now I am the light. Again, the greatest statement that could ever be said. And so it is challenging. And so I encourage you, though, to simply keep with it and to hone and to refine the process. The other thing that helps tremendously is the Zohan breath. With the Zohan breath, you see, we are once again quietly focusing the mind. We're holding it in attention upon the open doorway, and we're watching the breath. So inhale, filling the lower part of the belly, the upper part, the lungs, and then we hold for a couple of counts, simply seeing the silence. As we exhale, hum, we simply see the breath, spirit now moving out from us in a wave of living light. And as we fully exhale, we pause for a moment in the silence. I am. And once again, so hum. Rhythmic, ever quieter, more silent breathing, which begins to silence the mind and prepares it for the meditation. I've encouraged several people who I've talked with recently to do the Zohan breath diligently for 5 minutes before meditation. So you'll find that it is weaving a opening, a doorway to allow the meditation to occur so much more effortlessly. So I'd like to take us through the Zohan breath for about 5 minutes, and then afterwards we will go into our meditation for this evening. A quick shout out to my friend Charles in Chicago. Uh, Yesterday was Water Day, but July snuck up upon me, and so this is July 1st, and it will be Water Day, my friend. So thank you. So the Zohan breath, again, a very important, with the spine erect, because in the star Tetrahedron, there is a shaft of pure light from the crown chakra, the pineal gland to the base of the spine, the coccyx, that is what we call the rod of initiation, where the pure light of source, I am, moves up and down the spine in enlightenment. And so we sit with the spine quite erect, as though there is a string at the top of the head that gently pulls us up. As we begin the Zohan breath, we focus the mind upon the in-breath from out of the open doorway. So, seeing the breath filling the lower part of the belly, diaphragm going down, lungs filled, holding for a couple of counts, I am, and then breathing out, hum. Exhaling fully and deeply, belly coming in, holding for a couple of counts, I am. Each breath should be deeper, more peaceful, as you feel the body relaxing, focusing the mind to be light I am with each breath. Let's do the Zohan breath, and I will join with you. And very easily now, slowly coming back into the now. The Zohan breath, it also balances the sympathetic nervous system. It is up and down the spine from the very base to the upper part of the brain. And when we're doing the Zohan breath, it balances and aligns all of the organs as the sympathetic nervous system. So it has a great physical restructuring as well. And so you'll find throughout the day, if there's some upset, some emotion, there's something going on that a little challenging in your life, if you just take 5 minutes and do the Soham breath, you reset the body, you reset the mind, and you'll find that probably the emotion, the upset begins to be a no thing or something that is then taken care of very effortlessly. So again, we're using these tools to create more peace and coherence every moment of our lives. Of course, the magic of the star tetrahedron is that the aspect of divine mind, apex above, focusing of light, is then moving left to right clockwise. This is the movement, the rubbing of Aladdin's lamp. And then the lower triangulation, right to left counterclockwise. Once again, we don't want to get hung up in I need to see it, but simply focus the mind and continue to hold attention upon imagining. Imagination is the greatest tool in creation there is. What we can clearly see and what we can imagine becomes real. And so we are seeing and over time imagining I am the fullness of the Christ wave, the unification of God I am within form. And so it shall be, according to your desire, your willingness. And as it is then moving, then it opens the sacred doorway within the middle, back into the realms of the void. And what is it within void? You, spirit, the original being you are that still sits within the silence of creation, knowing in its silence that it is simply manifest within form, but that which is within form, which spirit is, has forgot that it is God. And so as we then do the star tetrahedron, we go back home. And we feel once again, I am source. I am God, I am, that I now can feel moving out from the open doorway. It touches the knowing, the consciousness of source I am, mind, heart unified. And we then see and feel it becoming life, Aladdin's lamp made whole. Truth. So I'm going to take you through the full formulation and then we'll meditate for about 35 minutes. And I will join with each one of you as I move across time, space, and enliven all of us in the conscious field of Source I Am. So let's sit quietly, and by simply closing the eyes, we feel the body relaxing. Be aware of the breath. We could already begin the Soham breath. Deep, quiet, relaxed breath. Breath is life. Bringing attention between the eyebrows, we imagine a line straight back in the approximate center point of the head. And we ignite with imagination the light, an electric blue light within the center of the mind. I am light. By gently holding attention here, light increasing, a focused light that fills the mind and fills the brain with light. The waters of the brain are light. We focus the light to the heart chakra at the sternum and we illuminate. We imagine the star tetrahedron. We see it. Apex above, divine power turning left to right, clockwise. Lower triangulation, apex beneath, divine love, right to left, counterclockwise. And as we simply see it turning, we see in the center an open doorway. A doorway back into the realms of source, spirit, and a rising forth. Touching the facets of the star tetrahedron, spinning out sunlight and life completely through every cell and tissue of the body. This is the transfiguration, flowing as living sunlight out into the world, creating a waveform of new consciousness for humanity. Let's sit quietly together in our imagination and seeing, and I will join with you. And ignite the light within each and every one. And slowly returning back to the now. And so the meditation is a meditation of great practice and discipline. Again, a very unique thing simply to see. Almost every week, I simply put my hand up and say, did it take any effort to see my hand? No, you didn't try, you didn't effort, you simply decided to see. And this is then the seeing. We simply see the star tetrahedron. There is a natural part of us, of course, that we want to effort or we want to try or to make it happen, which derails the process. We're training the mind to be simply an instrument of pure light. And in that pure light, you see, as we are then able to hone, then find the union of love, the mystical marriage, and we open the doorway, we no longer need thinking. We become the internet of all creation, source, God I am, living within the void where all creation already exists, and we then simply decide to see what we would choose to be. This is very exciting and a very beautiful thing. It's really the apex of the evolutionary experience on the planet these days, and it's why there is such a great destructuring taking place within the worlds of form, which will continue. There was a very beautiful video that was put out about an alignment in astrology with Pluto, Saturn within the sign of Capricorn, I believe. And it talked about how this is the time beginning January 5th, 2020, which was about the time of the pandemic, of the great destructuring of the planet for the restructuring that will begin in 2022. So we can look for more probably difficulties, more speed bumps. But if our vibration is a vibration of peace and prosperity and joy, we will find that that's what we attract to us. If our vibration of one is of worry and fear and continued travail and difficulties, I'm having a hard time. Once you say I, and whatever you say behind it, you have named your reality. There's only one reality. I am the light. I am the love. I am source. I am wisdom. I am power. I am the greatest phrase that we can say, I am. And whenever you, again, put as a recognition behind I am, you become it. I am worried, you become it. I am fearful, even feeling it. You see, that is already the I am. So we want to be very conscious now throughout the day. What is it that I am holding my mind upon? Let us hold it upon the light, the love, the prosperity, the joy, that we become these great embodied beings of light, which is our destiny, our destiny. And this is why we have come to this great and beautiful planet to fulfill our destiny at this time. You have been initiated into the star tetrahedron work by simply joining with us, and it's up to you to then, with your process, your meditations, to join with us continually or on your own. It is a self-discovering pathway, and I invite you to walk it into the light, my friends. Any questions?
So very quiet.
Good. All right. Well, of course, for me, a very extremely amazing meditation with each one with you folks. It only increases very dynamically, and I can feel myself reaching out, and I then simply see each and every one of you in the light. And as I see you in the light, you are then clothed in light. Again, what we see, we create. So we'll see you next week, same time, same station. I want to thank many of you for your very generous donations. It's quite wonderful, and I thank you. Peace be with you, and we'll see you next week, my friends.